here. All right. So today, there's been a lot of pinpoints recently on finding the right staff, and I've invited Craig Pretzinger from Agency Vault. Craig actually has two agencies out here in Arizona too. He's probably my biggest ad competitor for my agency, but it's all good. That we he's a great guy, really smart dude. Agency Vault's a great product, and he's going to share a couple of things with us today regarding on how he hires people and how he's done it for his two agencies. And there's a lot of people that use his product to hire the right staff. There's some assessments. Craig, if you can you hear me, man? Can
I
you?
can hear you.
Oh,
Can you
sweet.
hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome.
If you could drop that link, that assessment link that you were talking about before,
Yeah.
put
Uh,
it in the chat bar.
it's in the group.
Oh, okay.
Let me know. Give me a big tribe holler if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we got it, man. Looks good.
Awesome. Perfect. Look at that little co-branding there. So thank you, Frank, for inviting me to do this. I've been an agent for 10 years now, an Allstate agent. A little background on me. I have an MBA from U of A. That's down here in Tucson. So, and I'm certain Frank's a Wildcat fan as well. So had to bring that here. Was an advisor at Merrill Lynch. So that's where I got my sales. A lot of my sales training and sales background came from that. Before that, some cars and a lot of different other sales jobs. But the opportunity to purchase an agency came up, and I jumped at it, and it's been a lot of fun and a great ride since then. And I've had the ups and downs, just like everybody on this call. And if you want to put it in the chat, but I already know the answer, what is your number one challenge, right? It's why we're here. Our number one challenge is staff, finding the right staff, right? And then finding those right people that are actually going to produce in our unique ecosystem. Whether you're an Allstate agent or you're a State Farm agent or you're a Farmers agent, the agency model is much different to be successful, and especially in the captive space. And you need the right people. Getting the wrong person in, and we've all done that. I've done it many times. Getting the wrong person, in addition to the aggravation and the frustration, it's just a giant waste of resources, right? Your time, your money, and your hair. My hair is turning gray as a result of staff, and I get good staff. So unfortunately my partner Neil couldn't be here, but I do have to give a shout out to him. A lot of what we've built and trained around has come from a convergence of my sales and agency ownership background, and then Neil's background in training with Chet Holmes. If anybody's come up in sales, you've heard of Chet Holmes, and I know everybody's heard of Tony Robbins. He shares the stage with Tony at Business Mastery. So it's pretty explosive and powerful stuff that we train on, and we've taken all of that, harnessed it, and put it into a system that for hiring and sales training that works in our environment. We've built relationships with over 500 Allstate agents, and this is great timing because we are now launching the next iteration, which caters to everybody. So it's not Allstate specific. It works with everybody. Thousands of licensed producers. You may occasionally see LSP, which is Allstate acronym for licensed sales producer. We're trying to get away from that so that everybody can follow along. But our goal is to maximize hiring and sales training. So merging those two things, right? Creating an API, if you will, between the hiring and the training, so that we're finding the right people and then we're aligning them with a framework that works in our environment. What does that do, right? We want to lower the training and hiring costs and increase their sales production, which is more money for you. And I was typing so fast, I put a little and sign. Real quick, I want to talk about, before we jump into the assessments, I want to thank everybody that did do the assessment. I'm going to pull up one from somebody that did it, who I did get permission from him before we put out his show how he is. But this is the traditional transactional insurance model. Just type in the chat box if this is something that at some point when you started or even now that is the way that you sold, right? That transactional insurance sales is so antiquated and so price driven, right? The number one thing, what is the number one thing when somebody, if they call in and you get them or it's a lead, what are they focused on, guys? Put in there, what you know that it's price, right? They're always focused on getting the best deal. And sure, we want to give them the best deal. We want to give them the best value. So we need to shift their focus. We take their focus away from what they often think is most important, and we move it over to that value conversation. And we'll talk about that here. But in the traditional thing, the traditional sales, it's transactional, right? It's hey, let me do high volume, light it up, and push them through the funnel. I'm going to build a little rapport, talk about the weather, some other BS, just to establish a little bit of trust with them. We're going to uncover some need by asking them what they have, cars, just the basic stuff. And LSPs or sales reps, I mean, they're not trained. They don't know what they don't know. So they're always going to focus on doing it, this pyramid here on the left, right? They're going to present some solutions. They're going to ask for the sale. They're going to compare price, right? Oh, how are we looking? If that phrase, how we looking, comes out of their mouth, we are doing something wrong, because you're automatically turning it back to the price, right? So we may have the wrong person or we have the wrong training, but that's what we're going to talk about when we get to the assessment. But if you notice here on the pyramid on the left, this focus is on closing, right? We're completely focused on the close. The bulk of the time, if the wider part represents time, we're focusing on overcoming objections and closing. How many people on this call have had their sales process flow this way? Especially when you started, right? This is something that's the way that it ran. Well, with the Trusted Advisor framework that we developed, 7 steps, we first focus and spend a lot of time on working on shifting the focus of your reps, right? So that they're not focused on price, shifting their focus on getting the client to shift their focus away from price. So a lot of underlying foundational stuff that doesn't ever get talked about to get them in the right frame of mind, because mindset is everything, right? The knowledge, the product, all that stuff, man, you can learn that. But if you're not in the right mindset, you're not going to deliver, and that prospect is going to know it, right? If you're hesitant, if you don't have confidence, if you don't have presence when you're talking to somebody, they're gone. They don't care, right? Especially if you're more expensive. And oftentimes, especially in the Allstate space, we're more expensive. So we want to close those people who we're more expensive. And the only way to do that is to shift their focus away, right? Establishing rapport and diagnosing needs. The first two, or the second two steps, second and third steps in the framework are 45 and 25% of the sale. 70% of the call revolves around your ability to establish commonality with the person and to have a questioning strategy that's going to elicit the information from them that then they are able to flip, right? Their focus shifts when all of a sudden the energy goes into a different questioning strategy that they're not used to. Those of you who are already Agency Vault clients know about Build a Wall. I've done a lot of trainings on Build a Wall, but it's a P&L sheet that we ask specific questions to get with the goal of shifting their focus and uncovering a lot of different things, right? Typically, we're gonna identify places for umbrellas. We ask a lot of deeper questions, and the only way you're going to be able to ask those questions is if you have strong rapport, if you've established commonality, right? Because nobody's going to tell you how much they have in their bank account if they don't trust you. And I can tell you, I bat 1,000 on it. I get them to tell me what's in their bank account every single time if I'm running quotes. And it's because we established commonality. The focus isn't on the close, the focus is on this, right? This is where the time is spent. And then once we've done these things, once we've uncovered what they need, we earn the right to build the value, right? So that's our value proposition. Whatever it is, whether it's Allstate, whether it's State Farm, everybody has their unique value proposition, and you're gonna show that to them once you've earned the right to. So it's not about, hey, my thing is great, let me show you, it's so awesome, oh, I'm so excited. Well, they don't care. They don't care unless there's a reason for them to care. And if you can show them how that liability is the most important part of their policy, right? That the 100 or 250 or $500,000 or whatever that liability is that's going to protect their $500,000 in assets, if you can show them that, the game changes. Even when you have folks that don't have any assets, because that's one of the things time after time producers are going to say to me is, oh, no, they didn't have anything, I didn't need to do it. No, well, that's why we have a little thing about salary, because if you're sued, they can always take part of your salary. Depending on where you are, you have 25% up to 20 years. Different states have different rules, and I'd encourage you to look that up. But depending on where you are, that the need to protect the salary, because nobody wants to have a quarter of their salary taken out for the next 20 years because they ran somebody over because they were looking at their cell phone, right? And if you can show them, you can put them in that emotional place, they want to protect their salary. So lots of opportunity. But you'll notice here, the focus then, when we talk about overcoming objections, or I'm sorry, I skipped create buy-in. What we do after we build the value, we create the buy-in, we overcome their objections if there are objections, and we have a 7-step strategy for overcoming objections, and then we write those policies, okay? So I'm gonna dive in, and I did this for a reason. We're talking about the framework because we hire against that framework, right? So those of you who were, those of you who took it, pull up your assessment. And again, this is going to be recorded, so you could come back and listen to this and look at your assessment. Anybody who does take the assessment, don't do it now, do it afterwards. That link will be live today. But Cameron has been so kind as to share his assessment. And Cameron, I think you're in Arizona, so awesome, even though it's Phoenix. But a bunch of folks are chatting here. I'm not looking at the chat bar, so Frank, if there's any way, if there's something that's pertinent to me, just shout it out, because I can't get all the different things at the same time here.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Let me see what we got. Keep going.
Thanks, man. So if you go back to that pyramid, the one on the right, and you think about that in your mind, look at what we're doing here. So those of you that took the assessment, you see it's real quick. It's easy to send out. I use it. I have it on I have my own link on my phone. Like you never know when you're going to find somebody good, right? If you're at a drive-through and somebody's super bubbly, I just say, hey, look, is this your game plan, or are you planning to do something where you may make some more money? And you warm them up a little bit. And if they're interested, I text them. I say, hey, let me text you the link. You can take this assessment on your phone. It takes them 10 minutes, right? It's not an hour long. It's not some crazy thing. But the results are very powerful, right? And those of you that took it, there's some interesting questions. This isn't something that we invented. The engine that drives it is from a company called Intermetrics. They've been around for a very long time. It's been approved across the globe, so it's used in dozens of countries. You can take it in a bunch of different languages. Probably you won't be doing that, but it's something that you can do. We got together with them based off of the data of LSPs that we'd been working with over the last 7 years, and found the things that align with them being successful in our ecosystem, right? In the Allstate, the State Farm, the farmers ecosystem. And now we test for those things, okay? So if you think back to that pyramid, here's the first part, right? Shifting your focus. Now we have a little pre-step preparation. It kind of bleeds into shift your focus because it's more of a base step because you have to be in the right frame of mind. We talk about leaving your stuff at the door, not bringing in, and then being able to shift your focus. But we're testing against that, right? Establishing rapport, diagnose needs, build value, right? So when we're recruiting, when we're looking for folks that we need to fill spaces at our office, which for me, we constantly do it. I'm always recruiting, but I'm doing so smartly, right? Not in a reactive mode, but in a proactive mode. I have 2 hours I carve out every week, and this is what I do for those 2 hours. I go through assessments, I have ads. Luckily, thanks to Frank with the tribe, I've learned how to create funnels. So I have some funnels for, targeting different, different audiences. to get them to take the assessment, right? And what we do to cut out a lot of those folks that are going to ghost you, we have some disqualifiers. Like, we want to continue to try to disqualify, not, oh, I need somebody, I'm going to get them on, I'm going to overlook the problems, right? We want to find the top producers. And the only way to do that is to always be recruiting. And so we ask them to do a couple things. We ask them to take the assessment, and we say, email me your resume. I don't even look at the resume. I don't care. But I want to see if they can follow the steps, right? I'm going to look at the resume two things down. But at this point, I don't care. I want to find out, do they have minimum ability to be successful in our environment? Now, there's no perfect candidate. Even though somebody may be above 7s and everything, which is what we're looking for, that doesn't mean that they're good. It means that now we're going to talk to them. And I'm going to pull up the interview guide in a second to show you how you actually ask questions against this data. But let me pause my phone here. Were there any questions, or are we good?
So Craig, this data right here, this
Yeah.
is from so the assessment asks questions, and then the assessment creates this algorithm where it tells you like where they're best skilled in these categories.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
It's actually not even questions. They move these tiles around, and it's pretty simple. They basically rank a bunch of stuff.
That's really cool, dude.
Yeah, so they rank it, this comes out, and then now we're looking at gaps, right? So what we do is, when we're interviewing, we must interview from a position of strength, right? We want to be confident, we want to be certain. We have to maintain that dominant position in the interview. I'm sometimes, and I used to be too nice. Like, I just want to be buddies with them, and I love them all, and I hired everybody, and it was that was not effective, right? So this was born out of that frustration by going, man, this guy's awesome. And then 3 months later, all he's done is bleed $6,000 out of me, right? So we want to make sure that we take the emotion out of the interview and look at the skills that have been proven to be successful in the agency space, right? And then we're going to talk about how we actually train against them, right? But now we're looking at gaps, right? So, okay, a little gap on shift your focus. It's still, he's really strong, right? Establishing rapport. One of the reasons why he's an agent and he's successful at being an agent, he has strong ability to establish rapport. Now, on the flip side, or I guess an insightful piece of it, think about when you know coming into the interview that somebody is crushing it on rapport establishment. How do you think that interview is going to go? Right? You already know, you have the cheat sheet now that you know that you're going to love this person, right? This guy, this gal, whatever. You're gonna love them because they know how to connect. So you can discount that. It's like, hey, I already know I'm gonna love them, so I gotta be careful, right? And I need to focus on asking the questions that go against these gaps, right? So what we do in the interview, first, when we have them in, and we have a process that's in the Hiring Vault or Hiring Blueprint that actually walks you through, hey, first interview 15 minutes on the phone, second interview 30 minutes on the phone. If they make it to a third interview, that's in person. But we want to cut out those in-person interviews as much as possible, because you block out an hour, they don't show up. You block out an hour, they show up, but they're wearing an AC/DC shirt and they have 50 piercings in their face, right? And the tattoos all over their head. And you're like, oh, you're like, and you're stuck with somebody for an hour because you're nice and you don't feel like kicking them out, right? So we want to avoid those situations. And you do that by really getting clear on the phone first, if they're good. So continuing with, so let me pull up the interview guide. So this interview guide actually lines up with their results, right? And these are the high level results. So the top level that match with the categories I went over, right? We're looking for people that are going to be able to deliver the most effective way to sell in our environment. So we find that they're good. And now in the interview setting, we actually scroll down, and those of you that got your results, it can be a little confusing until you're trained on it, but each one of those top level categories then breaks down into these subcategories. Let's call it the DNA, right? And these little hash marks actually move and update based on all the data as it flows in. And and it's pretty powerful in that it continues to update. And we're looking at the pieces that make up each one of the categories, right? For him, let's find a gap here. So he's super strong. Like, this is a real strong candidate. You'd be excited about Cameron coming in, but you want to try to poke holes in the argument, right? Because again, there's no perfect candidate. He may present well on paper, but then we bring him in and he can't answer the questions, right? Overcoming objections tends to be lower on a lot of folks. Preparation. So we're going to focus on those areas. We're going to be cognizant as we're going through the interview guide that those are the areas of weakness, and we're really going to expand on that. In overcoming objections, we're going to reject him, and we talk about that. So with each section, so I'm going to scroll down to, let's say, overcome objections, or, you know what, I'll go back up here. Let's establish rapport, super strong. Let's look at diagnosed needs. So in diagnosed needs, we actually put them in specific role plays, and we're cognizant here, right? Balanced decision making. He's a little low on balanced decision making, so we're going to try to figure out what's going on there, right? So what you're hunting for, we have the specific things that you're looking for on when they're diagnosing needs, and they line up, right? Self-confidence. Intuitive decision-making. So now we're asking questions that specifically tie in to their weaknesses, right? What tends to happen in most interviews, and interviews when I ran it and you know, it was just shooting from the hip and loving everybody, is you ask them what they're good at, they tell you what they're good at, and all you're hearing about is all these great things that they're good at. I don't care. Of course they're good at these things. They're they're in an interview. They're at the top of their game. So what we have to do is shake it up and get them where they're not on solid ground. And you do that by poking holes where they have their weaknesses, right? And being cognizant of that. Now, if they can overcome these things in the interview, which is a pretty intense setting, especially if you play it right? If you set the table and you have control and you're in that dominant space in the interview, then you're going to be able to really knock them off their feet. If they can handle it, they come back at you. Like when you reject them on the overcome objection section, right? We want to see if they can handle rejection, right? I tell everybody, hey, look, this was a pretty good interview, but I'm not 100% sure that you can really cut it in this position. If they fold, they say, oh, okay. It doesn't matter how good everything led up until that point. If they can't handle that, how the hell are they going to handle jumping on 100 calls a day, being told no, and you're trying to get them to do the quotes, and it's just not happening, right? It won't happen if they can't handle it when you reject them. So we got to do that. We must reject them. So if you take anything from this, remember in the interview setting to be confident and certain and to reject candidates, because you want to find reasons why they aren't going to work out. Because if you find out now, you save yourself tens of thousands of dollars, frustration, resources, time and money. If instead of finding out in 3 months after you spend a month training them, 2 weeks getting them binding authority. I don't know how long it takes to do that at Farmers or State Farm, but at Allstate, it's a while before somebody is up and running and actually selling for you. So you got to make the right call, or you have to at least increase the chance that we make the right call. How are we doing on time, Frank?
You are good, man. You have about 30 more minutes.
Okay, I won't even go that long. Does anybody have any specific questions on this piece of it? How it works, how we present it to people, how you run the interview, anything.
So Amy asked a question: how do you drag this out with candidates in the market when it seems like people who are good get snatched up really fast by other agencies?
That's a great question. You want to always be recruiting, because they are going to get snatched up, right? Do you have a competitive pay structure? Do you have what do you offer as the employer, right? You just like with our clients and prospects, right? We need to offer, we have to offer value. We have to bring something that makes us better and make them like us. It's the same thing with a candidate. At the same time, while we're trying to disqualify them, we are also trying to woo them, right? So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because you can't slobber over them too much because you want them, but at the same time, you have to try to poke holes. And you can only do that if you're always looking, right? If we get in this cycle where you fire somebody or you lose somebody because they went somewhere, and then that's when you start looking, you put yourself in a really bad position, because then you hire out of need. When we hire out of need, we make bad choices, right? Oh man, I just lost my producer that writes 60 items. I'm screwed. I better hire somebody. You put an ad, people start applying. You're the first person that comes in. You're like, oh, they have a license and they have experience. I'll take them. And then they're terrible, right? And there's a reason why they're available. So we have to go over people who aren't available or aren't looking, and you only do that by always looking. Because just think, the likelihood of you finding the perfect candidate at the moment that you need the perfect candidate, it's almost impossible. It ain't gonna happen, right? So this is the hardest part, right? This is the point. This is the piece of agency ownership that is the most frustrating. And the only way that you get good at it is by doing it consistently and persistently. You have to do it every week. And you don't have to do it in a reactive mode. Like everything else we do in this business is reactive. People calling, claims, all these million things happening. You block out 2 hours, and it doesn't matter what is going on those 2 hours, you work on this. And then you're done. Okay, great. I didn't get anybody this week or whatever, right? But as long as you set the time and you hold yourself accountable to doing it, you'll get success. You'll find people. And even if you don't have a spot, I'll tell you, if I don't have a spot and I find somebody that's going to crush it, I make a spot, right? And you can go a month where you're nobody, and then a month where you get 3 awesome ones. Hey, bring them on, make them telemarket, right? Let's see if they're going to be successful, but let's at least increase the percentage, the chances that they're going to be successful by identifying if they have the skill set and the mindset to be a producer in this environment. Looks like some more questions. No, yeah. You hire licensed folks or get them licensed. So it all depends. I don't think that there's any one way to do it. It depends. If somebody has no experience, they're super inexperienced, haven't done sales, they've only been a server. Well, I mean, you're going to bring them in. I bring somebody who has no experience in, and they start as a telemarketer. So if they present the qualities and they crush the interview, and really feel good about them, then you say, look, you're going to telemarket. We have thousands of leads. Everybody in the tribe has thousands of leads. They start banging out calling those leads. If you run out of leads, get more, right? There's enough people to constantly call that you could support having a telemarketer. And you find out, it's like, look, in a month, you need to get your license. If you don't get your license, you're going to be gone. And you're going to be calling all day until you get your license. I'll tell you, calling all day is a great motivator to get your license, because it sucks, right? All of us have done it, and it's the worst. So you can get somebody very motivated to pass their test by calling and calling and calling. And hey, if they burn out and they don't like it, you just saved yourself money. And you had leads being called, right? So it's a win-win. Best job sites, I use Facebook. I make funnels on Facebook. We use Craigslist. Craigslist hasn't been as great lately, but it's just constantly having that line in the lake to try to catch those fish. Indeed, a little bit. We're working on some back end stuff with Indeed to integrate. So that's in the works, but you can post the link in the ads on Indeed, and I spend about $100 a month on Indeed ads for candidates. That was for Natalie. Did I miss anything? All right, so no problem. Thanks, Natalie. So the last piece, what we do is once you bring them on and they work out, we have a number of resources to train them, right? So it's not just getting the assessment and then interviewing against it, but it's also leveraging the assessment with your current team and with those people that you hire in order to train them. Because if you get them, they work out, they make it through all the hoops and steps, then we want to train where they have the weaknesses, right? We train them on the specific 7 steps to get them to do the same thing on every call, right? And increase that closing percentage by doing that. And I could show you real quick. That's some of the older stuff, but in Sales Blueprint, which is the newest iteration, we have each step that we go through to train them. So a specific lesson, a video lesson with handouts, worksheets, and then an actual test. So each lesson, and you guys are all familiar with Kajabi because Frank has it on Kajabi. We also host ours on Kajabi. But each section or each module in the 10-week course has a specific mastery diagnostic tied to it. Okay, so ton of stuff. Anybody have any other specific questions or anything you'd like me to go over? We do have an offer. Anthony hit me pretty hard to offer a really, really good deal. If anybody is interested in Agency Vault, I'm going to go over all the stuff you would get on that. But before that, I'd like to answer any other questions if anybody had anything. Or Frank, if you have any specific questions.
Cameron has a question, says, is that Sales Blueprint for every hired employee or is it for the agency owner?
So the blueprint works for both. The agent, it doesn't hurt for the agency owner to learn this stuff. I mean, these things don't just apply in the sales environment. I mean, you can apply this everywhere in life, right? I mean, even with your spouse, right? Connecting with them, uncovering their needs. All of these things are the same things that exist in sales, have existed in sales for hundreds of years before us. They will continue to exist for hundreds of years after us. But what we've done is make it where it's most effective in our environment. So it's specific to the agency role. And you would get this course as outside of the tribe. It's a per user. But what you guys could do is you have one login. And I'd be open to just, hey, look, if you have free producers, we could set something up for you guys. And yeah, so they log in, one login for the agency. Everybody can get in and go through each of the steps to learn it and take the mastery diagnostics and really hone these skills so that they're more effective.
Hey, Craig, if people were just interested in the hiring portion, like the survey and everything that you just went through, is that available? It
is, but I'll jump into the offer that Anthony talked me into. And it basically ends up being a better deal for you get everything as tribe people. So you good with that? Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Yeah, that's fine, man.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So let me jump up back to the deck. And I'll go over all the stuff. So, all right. So, as a tribe member, we already have where we're running a deal that as a tribe member, you will get 25% off no matter what, anytime, forever. Just a deal for a partnership here or a collaboration with the tribe. And what do you get? So I want to go through all the stuff you get. So you receive your custom links. So you get unlimited assessments forever. There's a small monthly, but I'll go over what that is. And then a one-time sign up. So you receive the training. So there's 6 training modules on all of the stuff we went over for hiring. So ads, there's how to become an expert recruiter. So 6 different things there. How to understand the assessment. So we go into detail. Neil delivers a really cool lesson that goes into very, very deep specifics about how to understand and leverage the assessment. The interview guide comes with it. So you get that interview guide for running effective interviews. You get a hiring flow, so step-by-step how to set up and run this playbook so that you can make something that is the most aggravating piece of your agency one of the easier pieces. Staff training exercises, some team building exercises, job postings, ad copy, how to run effective employee interviews, employee reviews. So once you've had them, how to keep and retain them. Caitlin Egger, who has they've got some monster agencies. They just sold their one up in Chicago, I believe, but she's got some agencies down in Austin, I think, somewhere in Texas. So she has these employee reviews, which we've integrated, really good. And there's more. So including the sales blueprint, that last piece that I went over, that'd be included. So we're throwing that in. Has the concept mastery diagnostics, live call recordings, complete sales framework. So it has handout scripts, worksheets, all this other stuff. And then we're going to throw in the old agency vault. That's a $2,000 deal. Put that in there for you guys. So over $8,000 of value. And today, I'm doing something today, and this isn't one of those BS offers where it's today and then it will last forever. You guys can get 25% off at any point, where it's $15.97 and $59 a month. But today, look at this fancy stuff. I'm going to do $797.50 plus $30 a month. So it's half off of the special tribe price of 25% off, so almost 75% off. And so to answer your original question, Frank, that $797 is what it would normally be for just the unlimited hiring with the hiring, with the hiring suite. So all of the stuff that comes with the hiring package. So this ends up being a better deal because the monthly on that's $59. So I cut it in half. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a link in here. I'm going to have to go in the back end and find something. So does anybody have any questions about this? We'd love to get you guys signed up, but this goes till midnight tonight.
Any questions, guys?
Definitely silence. I'm going to give you, write this down because I do want to support and serve you guys.
Lori says, does it help train my employees on sales?
Yes, 100%. So to reiterate what you get, right? A link, so you get unlimited assessments, unlimited. A lot of, Caliper and all these other things. There's a per assessment charge. You get unlimited. So this custom link is yours for as long as you just with that monthly thing, $30 a month for unlimited assessments. It's no brainer. So you could run a constant playbook, right? Spend a couple hours a week and always be looking for that part that is the number one challenge for you guys. You get all of the different things that train around how to hire. And then to that question, we have the sales vault, right? Sales blueprint. So this is included in this offer. You get this itself is $1,000 and the whole thing altogether is going to be less than that. So we really wanted to pack a punch. This is our rollout and our launch for this. So I really want to get tribe people on here because you guys are vocal and I want to give you value. And at the same time, I'm hopeful that you'll use it and gain success. I know you'll gain success if you use it from it and tell everybody about it, right? So again, live call recordings, complete sales framework. We're going to throw in Sales Vault, Hiring Vault, Process Vault, 28-day challenge. So a whole bunch of stuff that really altogether, all this stuff is like an $8,000 deal. So yeah, so I'm going to copy the link on the back end. Was there any other questions?
Kathy Holt, is it better than using DISC? I don't know what that means.
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So the DISC test is a personality test. And that's what a lot of the people who would be considered competitors, I guess, there really isn't any competition because nobody has anything like this. But DISC looks for these personality traits. And then really, it's not the most effective thing for interviewing, right? For hiring and interviewing. The DISC is great for understanding communication styles and for being able to talk to your existing employees. But with when you're looking for people, you want to identify skills that have been identified as making somebody successful in our environment, right? And that's what this does. I don't know if Justin Hawley's on here. Is Hawley on the call?
No.
No. Justin Hawley, who's a tribe member, he's used it for, I don't know, since we launched. And I mean, he's said it to me. I talk to him occasionally. He's like, look, this is the only one that works. Linda Fullman down in Texas, I was just talking to her this weekend, and she said the same thing. She goes, look, this is what you guys are crushing it with. So the process lineup with B-File users, I think that the B-File, I don't know 100%, but my understanding of B-File is that it's like the needs diagnosis piece. So I guess you could swap out your B-File in the needs diagnosis. I mean, we use the Build-A-Wall, and it's a paper sheet. I like it because it's physical. My producers have to come and hand it to us. Hand it to me and anybody that we train. We do that, where that sheet comes in, and those sheets go to our EFS. We've done this year, since my team is really humming along using our Build-A-Walls. I got distracted. I looked at this question. Since they've been using the Build-A-Walls, we have really, really dramatically increased the number of rollovers we've done. This last, I think we're almost at 40. We're 45,000 in PC for the year, and probably 35,000 of it is rollovers. Last year we hardly did any rollovers. So this is a great tool to increase those rollovers. I don't know about the other indies and farmers and everybody, but Allstate has a big focus on the ALR. So we have to get that, Allstate Life and Retirement stuff. But it's crazy. We just found a $750,000 rollover because they followed the process, right? They asked them, how much do you have in your 401k? And, they got to the point where they were comfortable asking those questions, and it gets the results, right? We set up an appointment, bring them in, $750. She's like, yeah, I'll roll it over. You know what? My guy at UBS never asked any of these questions. It's like, there you go, right? You establish trust. So it's huge in creating those situations. We have more IPS than we ever had. And the folks that do it, that run the play, it works. Independent agents, of course, right? This would work with anybody because it comes down to the sales. It's not Allstate specific. Originally, when we first launched about a year and a half ago, it was Allstate specific, but that's where this next iteration that I could go over with everybody on the side if you like. But the hiring vault, or the hiring blueprint and the sales blueprint, which I showed, are what is. It's not Allstate specific, so it works with anybody.
Hey, Craig, real quick. I'm using Ideal Traits and then the Craig Wiggins stuff. Can you compare and contrast your stuff to those?
I'm sorry?
I'm using the Ideal Traits assessment and then also the Craig Wiggins training. So can you compare and contrast your stuff to that? Because it seems very interesting. Okay.
Well, what we are is about teaching and coaching through the fundamentals. Okay. I haven't logged in to the Wiggins thing or ASA, so I can't speak to what's in there. My understanding and what I've heard about them is that there's a whole lot of stuff and you get lost in there. And what we wanted to do was not be some YouTube channel or another Whoople, right? What we are is, look, here's the framework. There's 7 specific things that you need to learn in order to sell. I kind of think back to when I first started into sales, and I read a lot of Chet Holmes stuff, or those of you that are old like me, you remember Zig Ziglar. Like those books, I would read them until they were worn out and the pages were falling out. And it's the same idea. It's like this playbook, you run through, like the first section, preparation, or you run through shift your focus. You're not going to learn all that stuff the first time. It's about doing it over and over. So I guess in comparison, if we're going to compare to other training platforms, we're about doing 7 or 8 things 10,000 times, not about doing 10,000 things 7 or 8 times. And the feedback that I've heard as people are coming to us from Wiggins or from other training platforms or Cardone or whatever is, this is great because I don't get lost. I don't get lost in a million things, right? It's about an overall framework, right? A strategy for selling and then sticking to that strategy. In comparison to Ideal Traits, Ideal Traits has you know how Ideal Traits is, right? It's a personality test that is pretty cumbersome, I believe. I think it takes a while, 45 minutes or an hour to complete the assessment. And the feedback that I've gotten back is that a lot of times somebody may come back as a sales producer or a sales leader or whatever, and then it turns out that they weren't. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to somebody else's thing, but I can't speak to that. This is accurate. And the people that use it, I wish Holly was on here because I know that he's used it, or Linda Fullman. But a number of folks that have used it. I don't know if I don't see any names that I recognize. But again, think about how we're aligning with those things that specifically align with somebody being successful in this environment, right? So it's very specific. And I guess the one thing is that Ideal Traits is DISC. It's a personality test. I don't care about personality. I care if they have sales attributes. Does that make sense?
Those are good answers. I tend to agree with everything you said. I find that the Wiggins stuff, there's a ton of stuff there. You have to sift through it. And I think the Ideal Traits, I'm tending to agree that the people I get from there, I still need to scrub even further. So
right.
I definitely agree with exactly what you said.
Okay. And I want to be careful talking about other people's stuff because
I just trying to get a sense of what this is. I mean, part of me is like, I almost want to try it for a couple of days just to read through it to be sure it's not the same thing. That's what I was concerned.
Oh, this is not the same thing at all. So we're the only folks that have a specific, hey, step by step, do these things. Your LSP or your producer will be
right. So I sort of like that. It's a little more streamlined, and I think it's easier to work with and follow. And I think, and I like the shorter assessment. That's one of the things I don't like about the Ideal Traits. It takes too long, and people just abandon it.
Yeah, right. I mean, what we want to do with our candidates is the same thing that we want to do with our quotes, right? We want volume.
Yeah.
We need lots of people going through our funnel. It doesn't mean we're going to talk to a lot of people. And that's another thing is like we eliminate that piece because, look, they eliminate themselves. If I put an ad on Craigslist and I get 40 candidates, 20 of them don't follow the very simplest of directions, which is email me your assessment, email me your resume and complete the assessment. Half of them don't do both things. It's remarkable. And it's almost exactly 50% every time. And it's like, I don't care if their assessment I don't even look at their assessment if they don't send their resume. Not because I care about their resume, but because I care about them being able to follow directions. Right? If you can't do that, then is this person going to make 100 dials when you tell them, look, you need to make 100 calls today? No, they're not going to do it. Right?
Craig, I got a question for you. Does it also work with service people or just strictly sales people?
Okay, so it does. Those of you that know us and have been around a while know that we also have this boot camp. We have a number of people that have sent their service team to boot camp, and we go over the same stuff. It's the repetition is the mother of skill, and doing these things over and over is what makes them good at it. Lisa, if anybody knows Lisa Fena, she sent her service team, and they loved it. They were like, well, I'm not really selling, but it does help me with some of the things, like a pissed off client calls, they're mad about something, and they worked that rapport establishment section really hard, and they understand, okay, look, I need to match and mirror. I need to do all these different things in order to connect with that client. So yeah, service per people can definitely benefit from it.
I'm also referring to strongly the hiring assessment.
So we do have a separate assessment that is a service assessment. It actually searches, it actually identifies skills. I didn't go over any of that, and I don't have that for the deck, but it's something that I'm happy to include.
Okay.
If you're looking for specific service attributes, we do have a service attributes index, and I can create those for, I can create that for anybody on here, or have the tech team build that out and add it. No big deal. I'd include it if people want it.
Okay.
Works the same way.
So there seems to be a lot of interest, Craig. If tribe members want to take advantage of what you're talking about, how do they get a hold of you? Are you going to post something in the group?
Yeah. So I'll post the link in the group right after we get off, because I had it copied and then we did that other thing. So
cool.
So I'll put that in the group. If anybody has additional questions, I'm going to give you my cell phone right now. Blow me up today. It's fine. I anticipated I would get a lot of calls today, so it's all good. 520-271-1531. I'll put it in the chat here.
1531.
Don't share that with the rest of Facebook, please. But you can text me if you want. I'll respond all day. I don't have too many meetings today, so I should be pretty clear. And again, I'll post the link that gets you the $797. How do I get that?
Cool.
$797 plus $21.50 monthly.
So I've heard a lot of good things about this, guys. So if you want to go in another direction as far as assessments go, I recommend this. And then the second thing, if you guys are looking for volume on applicants, there's an ad in your portal under the ad library that's been getting applicants for about $1 each if you run it from lead forms. So if you guys go in this direction, you can get a high volume like Greg was talking about, and you can get a ton of people to fill out assessments. And you guys can find some really good staff members by weeding them out with the proper filters. So check that out. Craig gave you his contact information. Look out for the post in the group if you guys are interested in that. Other than that, we're going to cut it off here because we're short on time. So thank you, Craig, for your presentation, man. And again, guys, for those of you interested, reach out to him, and he will help you guys get going. Everyone, have a good rest of your week, guys. Thank you.